Good evening. Welcome to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen meeting for the City of Hendersonville, Tennessee. It's September 24th, 2024. We are just a hair past 7 p.m. We're going to get started as we typically do. That's with a prayer and a pledge. What we're going to do tonight to start us off is we're going to hear from Danny Spano. He is the Care and Recovery Pastor for Long Hollow Church. We appreciate very much, Pastor Spano, you being here, what you do for our community, what your church does for our community. Thank you.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here. And tonight, as we pray, if you would just lift up the families of the Al Zettergren and Jane Steinhauer as they grieve over their loss. If you would, bow with me. Well, dear Father in heaven, Lord, thank you that the mayor and the aldermen have asked for prayer to start this meeting, Lord. Everything begins with you. And Lord, your word tells us that all government officials are elected and placed by you. And so, Lord, tonight, as they make tough decisions and provide direction, I pray that you bless them with wisdom and discernment as they make these decisions that are going to benefit this town, this awesome place we call home. Lord, I also lift up all the military, police, fire, and EMS professionals who put their life on the line every day to make this city safe. Lord, we love you, and we love this city. And so we ask that you bless this meeting tonight, and we pray in the mighty name of Jesus, and all God's people said, amen.
Thank you, Pastor Spano. Again, appreciate what you and Long Hollow Church does for our community. Thank you so much.
So much for having me.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. I believe everybody's here. We will not call roll. I entertain a motion that we accept the agenda that was provided to you in your packet. We have a motion from Alderman Waters and a second from Alderman Robertson. I would like to withdraw item number 1. I'm the sole sponsor of that, and so that is my prerogative to do that. I'd like to do a little bit more research on that one, so we don't need to take a vote on that since I am the only sponsor. We're going to withdraw that one. However, Alderman Collins, I believe you have a suggestion for us.
I would like to move item, well, I guess it would now be number 2, the first reading of the ordinance rezoning 4.84 acres. I would like to move that to number 1 under ordinances and resolutions, because I think we have quite a few people here for that, and I don't want to make them sit through things that they don't want to sit through.
We have a second from Alderman Sassy. Any discussion on that item? So what the motion is to move what is item 3, which just became item 2, the rezoning of 4.84 acres close to Windcrest subdivision. We would take that up as the first item under ordinance and resolutions if y'all approve this. All those in favor of that motion, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Now we're back on the main motion of approving our agenda as a whole. So the only difference in the agenda that was provided to you in your packet versus what we're voting on right now is that we've eliminated item number 1. We've moved number 3 to number 1. Any other discussion? Any other questions? Any other motions? All those in favor of approving the agenda, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Thank you so much. Next, we have a couple presentations. The first one is September 2024 Beautification Awards. We have Kathy Pascal and a couple assistants and a couple people here that have earned some certificates and some gift cards, I believe.
Yes, absolutely, we do. We have some great citizens that beautify our city, so we're glad that they're here. And I do want to say that Mr. Yandell is not able to be with us tonight. He's in Chicago, so I have the gift cards that he has sent to present to the winners as well. So I will be presenting those along with the certificates. And our first winner, we normally do that was last month. And that's okay. Let's see. Let me find them here. Well, you know what? He's not here, so. But.
Casey, do we keep going forward?
Eh? Okay. Yep, it's not. Okay, that's all right. Dose Margaritas is the winner, our business winner. It just says Ma Pa, so it's actually Dose Margaritas, if you can see there. He has done a beautiful job of redecorating, and they are also the proud recipient of one of our artsy trash cans that you can't really see behind him there. But anyway, that is the winner. Get by and see them if you can. So in Ward 1, we have Mark and Holly Hoffer. If you'll come on up. And they have done a beautiful job. You can come around me here. A beautiful job at 183 Rebecca, and this is their fall yard. They keep it beautiful in the spring. They said the summer's a little challenging for them, but thank you so much. They've lifelong residents here of Hendersonville. They've lived in this house for 10 years, and the neighbors really appreciate what you've done, and we do too. And thank you so much. So if you would just stand right up there. Thank you. And then in Ward 2, Chuck and Donna Robertson. And here we go. Thank you. And this, and they have been, I'm not sure how long you've lived there, but I know the neighbors appreciate what you've done. It looks beautiful. Oh, good. So we don't have a Ward 3, but in Ward 4 this month, at 94 Hidden Point. Come on up, Miss Sandra DeMoss. And her lawn is absolute, Sandra, here you go. Thank you so much. She does all of this by herself, and it's a beautiful corner lot there, and it's just gorgeous. So get by and see that. We appreciate what you do. And Ward 5, at 122 Bluegrass Circle, it's Brian and Lana Wan. And I appreciate you so much. They're in my ward, and you were nominated because you came here about a year ago, I believe it was, and from Louisiana, right?
Yes.
And it was interesting how they came to be here. They were searching online, right? Googled it, and he just saw that he really liked the neighborhood. And I love this. He said it was so clean that he wanted to live here. So they bought the house. It was kind of in need of some repair and some cleanup, and so they did that, and the neighbors love it, and we appreciate you so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you. So, speaking of clean, in October, we're having our community cleanup again, October the 19th. And we're going to do that from 8 to 12. We'll meet here at City Hall. And we would love for all of you to submit an area that needs to be cleaned up, if you can find one now, because as I said, we're not finding that there's as much litter. So we may not have as many locations this time, but I say that that's success. So that's October the 19th. We will have a sign up. You can go to beautiful@HVilleTN.org, and we'll also have a sign-up genius. So that will be in October. And then also, I would love for you all to submit a winner. Someone this next month, we just have one more month, and then we'll take a break until the spring. But you don't have to have everything. You don't have to know a name and phone number and all that. But if you just give us an address, then we can take it from there. So thank you all so very much.
Don't go anywhere quite yet. We have to get a picture.
Yep, that's. There you go. That's great.
There you go. Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. So much. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't know if she mentioned it, but Ace Hardware is back open. They closed down a little bit to do their roof repair, and they're back open, so
All those
swing
gift
back
cards. Gerald Barrett, we have a presentation. Thank you, Alderman Martin. We have a presentation from our Deer Herd Monitoring and Control Committee.
Good evening, Mayor, Alderman. Glad to be with you. Thank you again for the opportunity to continue to provide updates. I'd also like to thank you all for your ongoing support as we move through what we've accomplished and where we're going from here. You'll forgive me if I use slides here because, as you all have witnessed, my ability to see that screen over there is not quite what it used to be. So, tonight really it's three things. Want to kind of tell you where we are, provide for you our 2025 initiatives, and then really answer your questions and see what you may have. In addition to that, Mark McBride has joined us from TWRA. He's the assistant chief, make sure I get this right. He's the assistant chief of game species section. I get it right? And in addition to that, we have Wes Winton, who's our wildlife program manager for Region 2. And before I get into this, the partnership we've developed over the last year or so with TWRA and the alignment that we've gotten from them has really catapulted us forward on the things there. And I'd really like to take a second and thank them for being here and thank them for all their support that they've done for us. And the other person that should be noted within their organization is Adam Edge, who is the Deer Program Coordinator for the state. So getting the alignment there has really been a tremendous step forward for us. So 2025 initiatives, and I'm going to speak to these each individually. Number one is the development of the Deer Dashboard. Then a exploration of any city vetted hunting programs, our ongoing information and communication programs, the information gathering through the TWRA in the state of Tennessee, and then of course the USDA survey program, which you all have been briefed and we've asked you to support. Okay. I actually clicked that in the right order this time. So in June, we did have the deer workshop. Did I go one too far? There we go. We had, this was our first one, the last Saturday in June, which considering it was 98 degrees outside, I thought having people there was pretty exciting. We had over 75 residents attend. We had representation from the County Extension Service. We had 5 or 6 USDA representatives as well as 5 TWRA representations. And then we had our state representation as well. So tremendous support. We had 2 presentations from USDA, which I believe are on the website now. And want to thank Casey and Jesse and Jay for all the support they've given us to help these things, this happen. Because it would not have happened without them. And I also really need to stop and thank Alderman Bergdorf because his support through this last year, guiding our committee, but also helping me learn how to be a chairman and what to do and what not to do and all that. Because, you don't know how to run a group like this. And so thank you, Alderman, for that and your commitment. Meetings, workshops, you're always there for us, and we really appreciate that. So, and so continuing forward with that, as part of the workshop, we had the resources provided. We had status for the citizens of what our situation is. There were displays on feeding and deer repellents. I'm sorry, fencing and deer repellents. There was education on not feeding. There was information on depredation permits, as well as some informal introduction between homeowners and hunters. I know that there were 18 people approximately that signed up with TWRA that they would have interest in inviting hunters to their property, or at least the exploration thereof. And I'm going to speak more to that in a little bit. So with that is our initiatives for this year. And, the big piece will continue to be communication. Thank you all for your support of the brochure. I know we got those mailed out. There's more available, and I think that's a tremendous resource that we provided for our citizens. We will continue to work on the website development. This continues to be with links, the seasonal updates, reminders of don't mess with the fawns during the spring. Watch out for bucks during rutting season. The weather's getting colder and the days are getting shorter. Watch out for deer close to dark. The big one that I want to speak, though, is this deer dashboard. Several of you have asked, really since our first brief, is for information. And information just continues to be very challenging to get. Accidents is a great example. We have an action report, but what we've learned is the only accidents that are in this statistic are those that an officer actually is dispatched to. So if they're not dispatched, then we aren't able to capture that. For example, the second item is the carcass removal. There's a big disparity, even in the last month, between the carcass removal and the number of accidents. You would think there'd be a correlation thereof, but there's 3 times as many carcass removals as there are reported accidents in the last month. So I think that's important information. Of course, the survey program that we'll be continuing to develop with USDA, results from depredation permits and harvest results. So these will all be ongoing pieces of information that we will provide to the citizens, and this will be updated on a regular basis. The expanded hunter program, we have been provided a tremendous amount of information on programs that have been modeled within the state and outside the state, both from Mr. McBride and from Adam Edge, of what other folks have done that's working. So we are going to be researching what a city-vetted hunter program would look like. Not advocating for it, we're just capturing the research. So, the vision would be to utilize deer archery hunts to reduce deer population, providing extra donations to kitchens and shelters. It could be just the matching of hunters with homeowners, where the hunters have passed a proficiency exam, for example, through the American Bow Hunters Association and their safety components, so forth. I know Morgantown, West Virginia, and Wounded Warrior has organizations and municipalities that have had tremendous successes with these. So we're going to be looking at what they've done, what they work. I know that some of the questions we have to answer is not only how these programs will work, what is the insurance, liability, legal questions, et cetera, with it for the city. And that'll be part of our due diligence, which we will brief you on as we go forward. And I would add to that on this hunter program, we're getting a significant number of people that are interested in coming here to hunt. And, currently we do not provide, we do not connect the homeowners and the hunters at this point. That is not our thing. There is an informal piece that exists where the local field agents have been approached and as well as homeowners, and there's some informal work going on there, but none of that is yet in official capacity for that. I can tell you that there is a lot of, this group, I'll give you a quick anecdotal. There was a group of hunters from Wisconsin that came down last year and harvested 10 deer. They were here for a week. They stayed in the town, and in my conversations with them this past week, they were here a week. They said they spent close to $4,000 in our community. They each took 1 deer home and donated the other 6 to our local Hunters for Hunger program. So, and I did not know who these folks were, but they're all very well versed. They're part of the deer committees up in Wisconsin, and so they come with a lot of credentials, and they are coming back this year. They have a weekend set, and so I felt great about that conversation, and I think that it's important that not only are they here to spend money within our community, but also support us in our efforts and to give back to the community as well. And I think that's kind of the thing that the thing that we're looking for as we move forward. So that's, and then of course, then the last piece is the USDA survey program. The questions that have to be asked, and I've been asked this, from all of you at pretty much every time I've briefed, is what we're doing working? And we need that, we need answers, we need data. And so we believe that we're taking the right steps, but we need the proof. We need to confirm that we're doing that. So we've got to reestablish our baseline, which would be with the first FLIR technology utilization survey in this spring, then again in next fall, then again the following spring when we've got through a full year, and then the following spring. So we'd be 2 years in, and we should be able to start asking ourselves, are we heading in the right direction? Candidly, I would love to see that be an ongoing thing, but at least for the next 2 years, we know we've got that in place. And again, we're very grateful to all of you for that. So I know you're probably surprised to hear it, but that is the end of my presentation. So that's a check mark for me at under 10 minutes, right? But I did want to invite Mr. McBride up from TWRA for a couple of moments, and then he and I are both available to answer any questions.
Thank you, Gerald. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Aldermen. I appreciate the opportunity to come say a few words. I'll try and be pretty quick. First, I want to acknowledge all the work that Gerald has done. I don't know if you guys have all worked very closely with Gerald, but he is pretty driven, short to the point. I've gotten a lot of phone calls from Gerald at 7 in the morning. Hey, Mark, I need this, this, and this. Thanks. We'll talk to you later. He is... He is really doing his due diligence in this work, and I think it shows with kind of the information that he just went through. Hendersonville is not the first city to deal with this problem. Certainly, there hasn't been a ton of incidences in Tennessee, but we all know it's coming. But if you look across the eastern seaboard where there's high population densities and high deer population densities, a lot of cities have grappled with this problem. And I think all the work that Gerald did was to take a step back, look at this from every angle, political, social, biological, financial, and really approach this, learning from other cities' experiences, not wasting a bunch of money on all these programs and trying all these different things, but coming up with kind of a sustainable and cost-effective, pragmatic solution. So I say all that to say we are definitely supportive of the work that the Deer Committee has done. I think the path forward here is kind of threading that needle that can help solve the problem and also be sustainable through time without costing a whole lot of money. Real quickly, I do want to speak specifically on the city-vetted hunter program that he talked about. Most cities that have dealt with this have ultimately landed in some sort of urban bow hunting program. If you look across, he used Morgantown, West Virginia, but if you look across all the states in the East, a lot of their cities have similar type programs. And I think, at high level, when we approach wildlife management in the U.S., there's a few overarching tenets that drive everything we do. You'll often hear people refer to the North American model of wildlife conservation and the public trust doctrine. And those principles are really that the public owns all the wildlife. And the state fish and wildlife agencies are here to protect that resource for the benefit of the people, but also maintain access for people to enjoy and use that wildlife. And so what Gerald presented with this potential city-vetted hunting program really does that. It says, hey, this resource is for the people, and we want them to be part of the solution. And so I think allowing hunters to help solve this problem is in everyone's best interest. And he mentioned a few things like the Hunters Feeding the Hungry program, economic impacts to the city. I'm a big bow hunter myself, and so I go to a lot of these different bow shops, and they work on my bow, and that's a tough business for those guys. And a lot of those local businesses could probably benefit from, charging $5 to have people come in and test for proficiency with their bows so that they can get certified to come hunt in some of these cities. And so lastly, Hendersonville is really the first city in Tennessee that is kind of formally tackling this problem. And so I think everything you guys do here is going to be huge from setting the precedent about how this is dealt with in the future in Tennessee. And that's why I think the agency is so interested in supporting you guys and helping you guys so we can really find a path forward, not only for Hendersonville, but for all these other cities as we all know development is going to continue, and we're going to start running this elsewhere. We have a roadmap for, hey, Hendersonville has dealt with this. They did a fantastic job. We can help you solve this problem quickly and efficiently. So that's all I wanted to say, just kind of support you guys and support the Deer Committee. I think they're doing a lot of good work. I'm happy to answer any questions, and I'll continue to engage with Gerald and the Deer Committee through the foreseeable future, obviously, to help you guys work through all these issues. And as Gerald said, Wes Winton is here. He's the Region 2 Regional Program Manager, which encompasses Hendersonville. I think he's going to start engaging in this. My wife is 37 weeks pregnant, so I'm going to be a little tied up here for the next few months. So Wes will probably be a contact moving forward.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you, Gerald.
Appreciate it. Yeah. Okay. Questions for Mr. McBride or myself?
You may have answered them already. I appreciate it.
Well, we're getting in the right direction, aren't we? No,
Thank you.
Thank you both.
And I would like to add one more thing, if I may. Mark says a lot of Gerald this, Gerald that. It's not. It's 7 people that are working really hard together. We had Officer Tipser, who we want to wish the very best to as she moves on to her next endeavors, because we've had a lot of people. So it's not a Gerald thing, it's a committee thing. And so I want to make sure, well, I appreciate the kudos. I want to make sure we give them to the people that are doing the work. So thank y'all very much.
Thank you, Gerald. We have no public hearings. We're on to approve the minutes from our September 10th meeting. You were provided those in your packet before the weekend began. I need a motion. We have a motion from Alderman Garza, a second from Alderman Goodwin. Any discussion? All those in favor of approving the minutes that were provided, do you please say aye? Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Now we're on to citizen comments. Speakers must identify themselves by name and address. Public comment shall be limited to 5 minutes per person, which time is not transferable to other speakers. All comments are to be directed to the presiding officer, not to the alderman, city staff, or other members of the public. Comments must address issues, not individuals or personalities. Personal attacks shall not be tolerated. Comments may support or oppose particular issues or measures, but the motives of those with differing views shall not be questioned or attacked. Malicious comments will not be allowed. Speeches for or against particular candidates running for public office shall not be allowed. We have 11 people signed up, most of them with very poor penmanship, but I'm going to do my best to read them, so please understand. First one is Don Schmidt on Burnham Circle.
Thank you all. So I'm here about the Drakes Creek Roundabout, and I want to say to each and every one of you, thank you. I know you have a tough job. Sometimes governing is not easy, as you all well know, and I forgot to identify myself, so I almost broke our own room. So I'm Don Schmidt, 1011 Burnham Circle. I represent District 18 in the Sumner County Commission. So the Drakes Creek Roundabout came before the Highway Committee back in August. So I made some notes so I can get through this pretty quick. So we had voted and discussed this in August about this roundabout because y'all came to us needing a small piece of county road to get this moving forward. That night I emphasized, look, I'm not passing the buck to the city, but our role here as the county commission, the highway commission, is simply to approve the road, and that's it. The city was going to be tasked with talking to property owners, negotiating with them, the whole 9 yards of project. Didn't want to sound like I was passing the buck, but I felt it was important that we know our role here as a county commission and not interfere with y'all trying to do something. The timeline, a lot of, people contacted me, timeline, what's going on, they were kind of confused, why wasn't this heard last Monday at the full commission? August 12th, we had passed it unanimously. August 26th, when we went to the full commission, the highway chairman pulled it from the floor. He didn't want to hear it. It's not a criticism of anybody, it's just trying to explain how we got to where we are. On September 9th, the highway committee met again, and it was deadlocked 4-4, so no movement. But there were some people disappointed, and again, there's no criticism on my part to the county commission that I serve with, but we were kind of disappointed that, the highway commission said, we would like an alternative plan that does not use any public, any citizen land acquiring whether it's 10%, 15%, whatever it was, we want an alternative plan. So the understanding was, as well, we'll get the people working on this real quick, and this way, if they get it to the next commission meeting, we can hear it. Well, we got that on 9/16, we got paperwork at our desks with that, showing us the rough order of magnitude, which was, I believe, Exhibit F. So the motion was made again to add this to our agenda. To my disappointment, to my constituents, it failed 12-10 to make it to the full commission. So since we couldn't discuss it there, I was talking to some of my constituents, because some of my constituents do travel that area to go to church services. A lot of my constituents drive their children to school. So that, that area is, very concerning to them, because you got a lot of roads coming in. And so the questions some of them had when I looked at this Exhibit F is, can this plan be used? And I told them too, I don't expect answers here tonight. That's not what this is. It's just simply to bring their concerns to y'all. But can this plan be used with ARPA funds, this Exhibit F, they asked. They said, if not, why? Those are the questions they had. Other ones, are there contingency plans in place to make this road safer? Worst case scenario, should you not be able to put this roundabout there? My concern's really leaving this untouched. And I'm not saying you would do this, but if you just left it alone and did nothing, when I read my notes, there was approximately 9,000 vehicles per TDOT that travel that area every day. From my understanding, there was no traffic study necessary because you weren't increasing the traffic, like putting a convenience store wouldn't increase it from 9,000 to say whatever it was. Citizens come to me and say, well, why isn't there a traffic study being done? Well, I've explained to them why, but the TDOT thing right there alone is concerning for me. You got 9,000 vehicles going through there a day. You've got children, they're going to school. You got a lot of families that live in a lot of those subdivisions that one day they're going to produce new drivers. Those kids are going to grow up, going to start driving. So, a lot of people that I talked to in my district felt the same, that, those kids will be acclimated to a roundabout should it be there. So it's not going to be something that they're, not used to. They're going to literally start their driving years doing that.
Don, 20 seconds.
Okay. So, like I said, I've had concerns, from constituents. They're for this roundabout, but they're on the flip side of it. The ones that are not are concerned with the land, acquiring the lands. They want to know, can you make that roundabout smaller to avoid doing that? And I said, I'll take all that concerns here tonight. I appreciate everyone's time too. I know I went over a little over my time, but if y'all need, need anything from us at the commission, you know where to reach me. We're always willing to work with you. Thanks.
Thank you, Don. Thank you for your help. Scott Denny, Windcrest Way.
Hello, my name is Scott Denny. I live at 121 Windcrest Way in Hendersonville, and I would like to speak regarding the rezoning of 4.8 acres at Saundersville and Windcrest. The first thing I'd like to do is thank you all for not approving the initial proposal that came before you for that small piece of property. Also, I will say I've noticed most recently down at the other end of town, at the first exit into Hendersonville, there by the by the Waffle House, there have been some residential structures built on a piece of property that in my mind is very similar to this piece of property. And they're right up on the entrance ramp to the bypass. And, I don't know, but it's possible to me that the same thing could be built on that piece of property. So in light of that, I feel like the proposal that's before you, I think, is the best option for that piece of property and for Windcrest subdivision. I would ask, if it's proper, that I think it would be a good idea for the company that leases that property to take ownership of the entrance structure that sits on the left side of Windcrest Way. It will be sitting on their property. It will belong to them. And I would like to suggest that they repair it, maintain it, put lights on it, and put the name Windcrest on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott, appreciate that. Brian Lannon, I think he was here for the awards earlier on Bluegrass Drive. He might have left. I think he signed up. Okay. And then Ryan Servey of Huntington Place.
Thank you, Mayor. My name is Ryan Survey. I'm at 115 Huntington Place. I'm here to talk about ordinance 2024-18, the Windquest Way rezoning. My house is very near, right behind that property. And I'm here to say that I support the plan that you're going to hear today. I genuinely feel that it's a really good idea. What I'm worried about is what's going to go there if it's not approved. And at the last suggestion, which was the long-term stay hotel, which was a very bad idea because my children like to play in my backyard and I don't have to watch them because I know my neighbors. That's why they're safe. And if there are short-term rental homes there, which I assume no one needs permission to put, I won't know my neighbors. And my kids won't be safe playing in their backyard because it'll be a non-HOA controlled rental property, which is not in my best interests. This idea, I've talked extensively with the developers. An executive from the company came and talked with us. I talked with our aldermen. All my questions were adequately answered. I feel comfortable about it. It's a very good idea because it's just trees. We're going to take trees and set them out for sale. So I encourage you to approve this idea, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Ryan. Darren Frank, Lawrence Way.
Thank you. Darren Frank, 108 Lawrence Way North. I also reside in Windcrest subdivision. I'm at the very back of the neighborhood, but go in and out of the entrance, the main entrance there to Windcrest multiple times every day. I have lived in Windcrest for 22 years, and a couple of months ago when I was here, I spoke out against the prior proposal because the developer at that point wanted to change the character of the property, which the property is adjacent to a subdivision, and when you change the character of something, that's typically not the direction we want to go. So appreciate the support in maintaining the character of that area of Hendersonville. I also want to speak in favor of this new proposal. I think I've lived here for 50 years and know that development is not only necessary, but it's going to happen whether we want it to or not. And so the best thing to do is to work with partnerships and make that a win-win. And of all the opportunities that could go onto that very weird and just inexplicable plot of land, I believe this is the best option because it's going to, in my mind, it's going to enhance that piece of property rather than just be a spot for a for-profit, somebody to turn a buck. So I want to speak to that. I also want to bring before the aldermen that the company and the developer and the organizations that are coming to you with this, to me, have done a very impressive job of their due diligence and not only looking at the impact to the neighborhood, which is obviously one of my first and selfish controls, but it's also the Saundersville Road area that is becoming very interesting to traverse throughout different periods of the day, and both the developer and the engineer are very much in tune to that and have listened and in my opinion, been very impressive in how they want to work with the homeowners, particularly those that back up and will run adjacent to the development. So again, I appreciate your opportunity to listen and hope that you will look favorably upon that proposal. Thank you.
Darren, thank you. David Livingston, North Lake Drive. Okay. Beth Pickle, Windcrest Court.
Good evening. I'm Beth Pickle. I live at 113 Windcrest Court, also in the Windcrest subdivision. And so I agree that the original proposal for the hotel and the gas station was a horrible idea, and I appreciate the limitations that have been put on the list of what can go on that property. I do feel like that the developer has done a good job of agreeing to some of the changes that were requested, and I think that the most important people to listen to are the people whose property backs up to that. I'm on the other side of the subdivision, so it impacts me a little bit less. However, I do agree with the previous speaker said about the traffic. That is my biggest concern. I did talk to the developer a little bit about that, and I feel like that of all the things that could go there, this is going to create the least amount of additional traffic, but there are a number of times of day where that traffic is backed up past the entrance to our subdivision, and trying to turn off of the bypass is taking your life into your own hands. And much to my husband's dismay, I was not successful one time trying to do that. So I think that the traffic does need to be addressed with or without that development, but with putting anything else there, it really needs to be looked at, because we can't wait for a tunnel or whatever may come in a few years. That area really is getting dangerous. So, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Christine Garner, Huntington Place.
I actually have a letter that I submitted to this board that I would like to read. But I also have a letter that's been signed by nearly everyone on the tree line that would be adjacent to Moon Valley Nursery, that if you'd afford me that, in case I go over my 5 minutes, I'd like to read that letter to you and tell you the signatures that were obtained. Would that be okay?
I can't give you more than 5 minutes, so go ahead.
Okay, all right. So the letter that was sent to you, that we actually had some trouble getting into a lot of your hands, was regarding a multitude of yes votes from Windcrest neighbors for Moon Valley Nursery with limits on future use. My name is Christine Garner. My family of 4 lives at 107 Huntington Place, directly behind and west of that nursery. We have an in-ground pool, small girls, so our interest in the place is quite strong in terms of safety and privacy. As you recall, we met almost a year ago to discuss the hotel and gas station. Surely you remember that, and we were 100% against it. It ultimately and rightfully failed. I hope to see that the committee is as thoughtful on this proposal. When this latest proposal came through for Moon Valley Nursery, I was very skeptical, did quite a bit of research right after I learned of it, and then immediately sent a message to you letting you know that I was not in support of this proposal. My primary rationale was because online most of those properties looked more like construction sites. There was dead grass, gravel, potholes, quite dusty and messy, and didn't feel like it fit with this space. Following that letter, I also decided to drive down to Franklin and had the same feeling about that property. But I did find out later that that is not the plan that was proposed for the Hendersonville location. It was going to be quite different. For example, Ben Page, the developer, has reached out to me multiple times. We've discussed this. The drives and lot will be clean and paved, not gravel with potholes through dead grass. The building will align with neighboring structures like the homes and office buildings recently built. They'll be brick or stone. Mulch and rock will not be sold in bulk. Signage will be at a higher quality versus the basic wood painted sign. Large trucks will only be coming through a couple of times per week. Not related to the comparison to Franklin, but also important, are that the retention pond is going to be dry. Many of us were concerned about that because we were concerned about critters, mosquitoes, smell, all of those things. So that was pleasant to learn that it will not be holding water. The developer is even willing to donate trees and plants to beautify our entrance, which I think was a great gesture. I was also concerned, as some of my neighbors have been, about the value of our properties potentially going down. One of the things that can make property values go down is pesticides from neighboring farms or nurseries or things of that nature. I did reach out directly to Ben to ask about that, and he said there are no chemicals, pesticides going on any of those trees once they're at the nursery. Everything that they're treated with happens beforehand, so we don't need to worry about people later saying, we don't want those houses because the ground might be contaminated.
We did find that there will be a dense 20 to 30-foot tree line between them and our neighbors' homes, as well as a fence that will help with privacy and security, dust and noise, which leaves traffic. We're going to leave traffic to you all and the experts to address, but one thing that I did learn today in further discussions was that this is actually going to be very little traffic. Per Jim Dix, the VP of Moon Valley Nurseries, Franklin only had 2,252 customers over 9 months, which is only 9 customers per day. That's actually less than what you would have with 2 homes. So the average home, the statistics say, is about 8 per day. So this is actually going to be less traffic. The hours are also 10 to 6, so we won't run into adding to rush hour problems. I'm going to skip some of this to make sure I can read this letter. I'm actually just going to jump to the letter.
Christine, there's a chance that we might want to call you back when we get to this item. So that might be an option for you as well.
Which thing?
So when we get to this item on the agenda, we might want to call you back and give you time to read that letter.
Oh, so go back to what I submitted?
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to be sure that I didn't not represent the people that wanted me to represent them. Thank you, I appreciate that. Let's see. And I'm glad you're going to allow me to do that because this was kind of important. There is concern about entry to this nursery being through the Windcrest entrance. So if there is a way to have all of their traffic not go through our entrance, that would be ideal. We're truly against the office we were originally truly against the office buildings going up, but more comfortable as the city added requirements to mitigate impact on our community. They've turned out to be great neighbors, and they're a beautiful add to the Saundersville Drive North. I do believe that Moon Valley, too, could be a great Windcrest neighbor with these things considered, and look forward to seeing them flourish in our city by the lake. I plan to speak to these effects this evening, but wanted to also send these details to you in writing. And say that I am eating my words, that I initially said absolutely not to Moon Valley.
Christine, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and Aldermen, for always looking out for Hendersonville and its residents. Your team can be trusted to be thorough, thoughtful, strategic, and fair. I appreciate the leadership.
Thank you, appreciate that. The next one, I believe, is Jan Gudenhuis of 104 Huntington Place.
Hello, good evening. My name is Jan Gudus. I was pretty close. I live at 104 Huntington Place. We moved to the subdivision in 2019, so it's been about 5 years. I want to echo pretty much what Ryan and Christine have said. I live directly across from Christine, so not directly adjacent to the property, but still very close. Again, don't want to copy all of it. My major concern is traffic. I got 4 little kids from 1 to 8 years. We do stroll around in the neighborhood quite a bit, also along the entrance. So the idea of this proposal I support a lot because of the amount of traffic that's coming with it, which I think is a lot less than most of the other proposals. If there can be a requirement that the traffic is mostly going to an entrance or exit that is not in the subdivision, I would appreciate that. But I just wanted to stand here in front of you and just voice the approval of that option for this property.
Jan, thank you.
Thank you.
Roger Mantell, Huntington Place.
My name's Roger Mantell. I live at 103 Huntington Place, right in the line of fire here. One thing I would like to say is when I talk to people throughout this city, they're always concerned about the fact that the character of the city and the spirit of community is maintained. And I thought when we moved down here, this part of, if you call it the Nashville statistical area, which it really isn't, but it's becoming that way, had the most amount of character and managed to retain the values that I thought were important. That's why my wife, Annick, and I moved down here. Now, having said that, we must always use extreme caution when making any changes to existing zoning. And in fact, I was told that by an alderman. The zoning ordinances are in place to enhance and maintain the character of the community and the safety as well. This proposal to build a tree nursery in Hendersonville will have far-reaching consequences, especially for those living in the adjoining properties. That includes myself and a lot of other people. There'll be absolutely no doubt this will cause a traffic problem, unlike any that has been seen in the area before. I also don't agree with the idea that because it may not be as bad as some ones, we have to take it. First of all, let's look at the other things here. Under the allowable use table, since it's been modified, government facility and offices, place of worship, art gallery, community garden, office, medical, dental clinic, all of those would have less traffic, less detrimental situations, less coyotes jumping over fences. And by the way, they do jump over fences. And you will have rats and all that stuff. You won't have that with these things, okay? You will have it with the plant nursery, okay? So, also, to speak to the effect of the noise and the pollution, we will not get a break from this because the nursery is going to be open 7 days a week. That's 7 days where we don't have a breather there at all. Okay. Not to mention the fact that we have a huge amount of traffic accidents. Almost every other day I go, there's another traffic, as it is in the Saundersville area. Well, that's not going to be very good if this happens. It doesn't really matter how they do it. There's going to be trucks and forklifts and noise all the time, as well as pollution that goes with it and all the other inconveniences of people driving and more traffic accidents. Okay. People are going to be hanging out in the area and trespassing on adjacent properties. That happens a lot. There's going to be more possibility of crime in the area, which there would be less possibility with the other things that I've mentioned. Okay. Now, as I said, there's another thing here that I mentioned in my letter here. Clearly, the zoning map amendment 4.84 mentions that there will be no significant adverse effect upon adjoining property owners unless such effect can be justified by the overwhelming public good or welfare. Well, obviously, there will be a significant adverse effect upon adjoining property owners. And since the entire community will be adversely affected, especially by the traffic, this threat cannot be considered to be in the overwhelming public good or welfare. So how can that be justified? Lest I remind people, this tunnel project is not starting until 2030, so there won't be any relief here till at least then, and a lot of people have said that they're not so confident this is even going to relieve any of the problems in our area, at least. Now, a lot of people say change is inevitable. But why do we have to open up the town and this area to a destructive force which is going to eventually, at some point, I believe, lower the property values? Why should our community be threatened with this kind of destruction? This is a suburban residential area. Any type of rezoning which threatens nearby neighborhoods, communities, and housing developments is irresponsible. Plans of this sort can also set a dangerous precedent for the beautiful city that we love. Is this the future for Hendersonville? Well, we certainly hope not, and we hope you feel that way too. Now, the other thing is, despite the statements that we've heard from the developer, we were not contacted about this neighborhood meeting at all. And I know several other people at least that have not been. So they were kept in the dark. I'm not saying they did it deliberately. I'm just saying they didn't know. And we have to know these things before we go and talk and figure out what's going on. Some people were told, some people were not.
Roger, 30 seconds.
Okay. Finally, this begs the question, an obvious question that I think people should consider. Why does the town of Hendersonville have to cater to a landowner who already knew the property he purchased was not zoned for commercial use when he bought it? Just because some people buy property and then negotiate with the town to create a zone change doesn't mean the town has to bow down to them and cede to their wishes, especially when it threatens the adjoining properties in the entire community. Those of us who spent a good part of our life savings on our houses should not have to have our hard-earned investments jeopardized.
Roger, thank you.
Because of this.
Appreciate that. Next, we have Annika Mantell of Huntington Place.
We came from New Jersey, so this is Annika Mantell, and we live right at the property 1065 Saundersville Road. So thank you for Boma that we can speak up, and thank you for listening, and thank you for keeping our beautiful Hendersonville so beautiful. We know a lot of things happening in Nashville, in Hendersonville, and that started to be really frightening. We invested in our house, a lot of people here invested in their property. We researched very carefully where we were coming from New Jersey. Hendersonville was chosen for us. And it was a safe town. It was a beautiful town. It was small shops. It was a lot of greens, good air, beautiful landscape. But what is happening with Hendersonville, right? Who are we bowing down to? Is it to us, to the citizens? Or is it bowing down to the one who buy all the properties and just do whatever they want without any concern about anybody? We invested our money, and we knew where we were buying. People who buy properties, they know what is good for, what it's meant for. This was residence, low density, no commercial. Somebody said in the planning commission, oh, this was meant to be commercial for 30 years. Well, no zoning will change for 30 years. It's still residence, low density. And I just want to ask you to consider this. Think where you are living. If somebody next door come with a nursery, noise 7 days a week, they say they open 9 to 5, I don't know. We have heard also that said, oh, we're closing for fall and winter. That doesn't seem to be a good business for me. But anyway, it's 8 to 5, right? Who is bringing in the trees? Who is taking off the trees? Well, 6 a.m., trucks coming. I don't know, how long are they, 8, 10 feet? I don't know these things. But anyway, they are right in the corner going into the beautiful Veterans Boulevard down there. It will be bad, really bad. The trains are coming 10 minutes every hour, every other hour, and it's traffic, it's fumes. And with this thing here, it's coming, you know, the machinery, the forklifts, they're ding, 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 they're going forward. It's the engines, it's noise. Well, that's nice that they do it on weekends too, right? When we won't have a quiet time, right? Barbecuing and all that stuff. They will be talking, they will be moving around, they will be smoking, they will be watering the trees. And in the trees, to grow trees, right? It has to be some kind of growth in this dirt, right? So the water, it goes into the ground, coming into our waters, right? And then we have all this pestilence and all that stuff, as you know about. And we are very concerned about the traffic coming out from Windcrest. Coming out from Windcrest, the hill, oh, you should take the speed there. They're coming like, I don't know, 50 miles an hour, zoom. And then if you're coming out from Windcrest, you don't see the traffic from the right. They're coming like in a second. So it's very, very dangerous. I don't know, you build this property, you build all this commercial stuff, and supposed to be good for us, right? But you don't consider our safety and how we want to live. I'm just like to thank you for all this, to listening to us. And this buffer, the buffer doesn't do anything, really, for noises or anything, and giving us trees. These trees, you know, I don't know who is going to buy these trees. It's $1,000 for a tree. And the reviews say I don't know, they say a lot of them, they don't live more than 2 years anyway. So that's bad investment. But what I'm saying, when somebody buy a property.
Annika, 30 seconds.
Like for this residence, you know, he knew that it was low density, right? So why should we buy down to somebody who has perhaps more money and more plans to buy something else? It's worth as much as this guy or who is buying the land in this town. Please, we citizens, beautification, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Boma. Thank you for listening.
Next, we don't have any items on the consent. we don't have any items on our consent agenda, and the next item is actually item number 3. We move that up, and that's first reading of ordinance 2024-18. This is an ordinance rezoning 4.84 acres located at the intersection of Saundersville Road and Windcrest Way from suburban residential low density, that's SR-1, to general commercial plan development plan, GC-PD, to be known as Windcrest Moon Nursery Commercial Plaza. Need a motion? We have a motion from Alderman Collins. And a second from Alderman Garza. We do have the property owners here, representative of the property owners here, and representative of the business that are here, as well as some residents. If somebody would like to make a motion while we're having deliberation about this to hear from them, we could do that. If you are called on to speak up here, you have no obligation to answer any questions. You have no obligation to come speak. It's just an opportunity for the board up here to ask some questions and get some more information. So that just may happen. Any discussion on this? Alderman Collins.
I would like to hear from Moon Valley,
Okay.
the representatives.
Okay, without objection, we're going to suspend the rules. Tell us who you are and give us some information here. What we're looking for is you to provide information. You start making a marketing speech or start pitching us and lobbying us, I'm going to cut you off. We need information about this. And so if there's anything that came up just a few minutes ago that you'd like to address, or anything for some of the aldermen that you'd like to address, that would be the most helpful thing to be speaking of. So go ahead. Okay.
Mayor, and thank you, Alderman, for making the time tonight and giving us the opportunity to be able to hopefully do a project in your city. We're very appreciative. We've wanted to be in...
you got to tell us who you are, I'm sorry.
Yes, Ben Page. I own Peak Development Partners. I'm here with my partner, Clint Anderson, tonight. We're under contract to buy the property. We went under contract in the spring, and we've been working on it since. We wanted to be in Hendersonville for over a year now. We worked on 2 different sites, this being one of them. The other one was 505 East Main Street, which is a property that has an older white building on it and kind of a smaller stone fence along Main Street there. So, you know, just a little bit about the site that you guys know a lot about is that there were a lot of neighbors that were passionately against it in the past, the development of the hotel and the C-store. I heard about the site from that developer. He said, hey, I know you guys are looking for Moon Valley. I think this would be a very good site for it. That would be a very good use since they were, you know, everybody was against the hotel and the C-store. So that's how I found out about it. There were, you know, dozens of people that were passionately against that project. And now I can tell you with confidence, because I've taken the time to talk to the neighbors and the city staff, that the tables have turned and there are dozens of neighbors who are in support of this project now. And very little that are against. A lot of those people have taken the time to be here tonight, and those are all people that I've personally spoken with and addressed their concerns and answered all their questions and tried to make this project really good for the neighbors. We have 21, our company has 21 projects around the country, and so we aren't trying to jam a project through in Hendersonville. I mean, we really want this to be good for the city of Hendersonville. We want to make it as good as we can for the neighborhood, and we're trying to do a good job for our client, which is Moon Valley. We develop for them across the country, and it's really important to them to be in Hendersonville. So that's why we've been working on finding them the right site for over a year.
Ben, let me stop you there.
Yes.
Alderman Collins, any specific questions for them?
I have a ton.
Why don't you go ahead?
So one thing I want to ask you is if you are willing to supplement the existing tree line with evergreens, because it doesn't have evergreens right now, so that there would be some year-round screening in addition to the buffer.
Yes, yeah, we are willing to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's going to cost some money, but we're willing to do it to try to make it good for the adjacent neighbors.
Are you willing, once we're done talking, I'm going to offer an amendment. Are you willing to stipulate in writing through this ordinance that you will not sell mulch or rock loose by the scoop or pound, or however the proper gardening terminology is for that?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Let me interrupt you. Keith, is that already in here, or is that something you need to prepare for us to consider in a few minutes?
Yes, Mayor, that was something that was language that was included in the recommendation from the general committee. But if there are
Keith, can you scoot up a little bit? There we go.
But if there are amendments, it'd be good to go ahead and
Okay.
add that into it. So that would be okay with what you just talked about, the loose material. That was a recommendation that came from the general committee as well.
Okay, stick near, please.
Yeah, so it'd be fine.
Okay. Alderman Collins, go ahead.
So we've had the entrance issue come up, and you probably would have no reason to know that there's a history with the entrance and the marquee there. I have been asked if you are willing to, so there's two. One, which I think is going to be on your property, which is on the south side of Wayncrest Way, and one that's on the north, which is much closer to Saundersville Road, which is not on your property.
Can you give us a map?
Are you willing to landscape, light, and maintain first the one that's on the south side of Wayncrest Way?
Yes.
Okay.
Jason, can you give us a map? Go ahead.
So it's like the left as you're going in.
Yes.
Map.
Okay.
Yes.
And then I can't ask you to commit to this because the landowner of the one on the right isn't even here. But are you agreeable to talking with him and seeing if you could landscape, light, and maintain the marquee that's on the north of Wayncrest Way, closer to Saundersville Road? I mean, I know you can't commit to that because you have to have permission,
Yeah.
but will you discuss that with the landowner?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, I do have more specific questions. Can you tell me about the lighting? Or I know that will be addressed really specifically in the site plan, but is there, where are the lights gonna be?
I'm going to have CJ, our engineer, talk more specifically about that.
Yes, CJ Merle with 615 Design Group. To answer that question, you're correct. That photometric plan would be submitted at the site plan design stage and be submitted to the city planning department, and it would go in front of the planning commission. But there will be lights within the parking lot. Any light that gets put on this property would have to adhere to the city's photometric guidelines for the property, which normally in most municipalities means that no foot candles would be off of the property. Basically, the foot candles would have to go to 0 at the property line, and we would have to adhere to that. Hopefully that answers your question.
Okay. It answers a part of my question, but I was actually going in a different direction with this because I had a constituent contact me 2 days ago telling me that at the entrance exit ramp, somebody pulled in on the wrong side, which happens, and they were almost hit head on.
Okay.
And suggested that we need more lighting there. Would it be helpful to that? So I was wondering how close any of your lighting, I think it's too far away from your property for it to be lit by that. Am I correct, or? It wouldn't
Yes, you would be
help,
correct.
especially if it can't go
I mean,
off
the requirements that we normally have to adhere to tell us that we need to design the lighting on site in such a way that there are 0 foot candles once you hit the property line.
Okay. We've also had today, things have come up about snakes and rats being increased, and there's already a tree line there, but is there, I'm not a snake and rat person, so I don't know, but will you be bringing in something that would be a food source that would draw snakes and rats?
No.
No. Have you had issues with snakes and rats? That's just not a thing, is it?
No, there's
Okay.
50 locations across the country, and I mean, snakes and rats want places to hide, and so we're going to be clearing all this off and making it to where snakes and rats wouldn't want to be there because there's going to be activity.
Okay. Like I said, not something I know anything about, but I did Google that today, and it sounded to me like they prefer the open field that it has now. So you might actually be reducing that, if that's even a problem there. I have no idea.
If
And
that's
I
a
personally
check
don't
mark
want to
for
find
us,
out.
then yes, we can.
Okay.
We'll
Well,
help with that
I don't want to
reduction.
investigate. I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
Ugh. We also had forklift come up. I mean, obviously you do have to use forklifts because these trees are ginormous.
Yep.
So what can you tell me about, like, how close to the property line will people be able to hear the forklifts, or how loud is a forklift?
Well, the forklift with it actually operating is relatively quiet. What a lot of people complain about with a forklift is the backing up beeping noise, which is a safety requirement. But we've had that comment in the past. And so we actually have a little flashing light that goes on the back of forklifts that's approved as the safety measure. Instead of the sound, we can have that flashing light, and it's during the day, so I wouldn't imagine that any neighbors would ever be able to see that.
Okay. Okay, I appreciate that.
Yes, ma'am.
I have some questions for Director Free as well, if that's okay.
Sure.
Yes.
So first, I hope you're going to have the appropriate language for the amendment that I was just talking about with the tree line and the entrance that's on the south
Yes.
side of Windcrest and the mulch and rock, because, you know, I never know exactly how to phrase things to make them airtight, and you do.
And we'll need to also, because of what happened on the other side, when we're talking about maintaining the sign in the entryway, a little bit more descriptive. And that might be something, even if that's added as an amendment tonight, that might be something we want to flush out just a little bit more.
Yes.
To get more specific for if this continues on, so that we don't have any issues like we had across on the other side.
I
'Cause
appreciate that.
It didn't define really what maintain
We
was,
want to
so
be
we
pretty
wanted to do that.
specific about how frequently it gets,
Yes.
you're right about that, absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you so much. So we've had people suggest that they would rather this have an office built on it, and I've also been told that office space is not, there's not a market for office space currently for new construction for offices, and that we have vacant offices, and that's not, so can you tell me, like, how often are we building new construction office space in Hendersonville?
Yeah, currently we're not with the demand. There's some associated with specific companies that would be building, but currently there's any large spec office developments that are happening. Some of the things that have been successful have been kind of office condos. You're kind of familiar with that over near the library. Those are called office condos, and those are, I think most all that's already all built out. but
So that's like a strip mall for offices?
Sort of. yeah.
Okay. Do we have a lot of empty office space?
I couldn't really address that as to what the amount of empty office space.
Okay, fair enough. But there's not a demand for new construction for offices right now, so that's not something that's likely to happen in the next year or two.
It's difficult to say. The market can change. Currently, there doesn't seem to be a large demand for spec office in a space such as this.
Okay.
That doesn't mean that demand could not change in the near future, or it could be an extended future.
And we also had it come up during the citizen comments, and it's come up with me a few times in conversations about the likelihood that if we don't change this and it stays to be residential, what is the likelihood of it being rental versus owner occupied? And I understand that we don't have control over that.
That's correct.
But we are seeing more rental. We're seeing whole neighborhoods built as rental.
Yes.
So what do you think? Is this likely to be rental?
I would, that's difficult to answer. I guess my best answer would be as likely as any other residential property that you could develop housing on, would be. This I don't think is any more likely than it would be in some other location. So it's very, very difficult.
Okay.
But there is definitely, over the last several years, there's an increase of actual new construction of single-family rental.
And the idea that it could be short-term, it can't be short-term because we don't allow Airbnbs. But what do we define as short-term? 30 days?
Yeah, I think it's less than 30 days.
Less than 30.
And that's if you're short-term renting out the whole house. But
Okay.
if you're living in the house and you're in the house and you rent out and you short-term rent out parts of your house, that's actually not defined as short-term rental with our guidelines. Just if you're renting the whole house out.
But this could be, somebody could do 6 month or 9 month.
Yeah. As long as it's more than
That's
31 days.
allowable
Yeah.
anywhere in Hendersonville.
That would just be considered rental.
Because we don't control anything above 30 days. We have no authority
That's correct.
to determine the term.
That's correct.
Okay. Okay, as we discuss this, I may have more questions, but for now, I do want to offer an amendment that we include in the document that they will supplement the existing tree line with evergreens, that they will light, maintain, and landscape the south entrance, and that no mulch.
The south
or
entrance of the
the
Windcrest
marquee,
subdivision.
the marker
Yeah, of
that's
the
on
Win-
the south side of Windcrest Way. I
Yes.
said that completely wrong.
Okay.
That's why I need you to write these for me. And that that there would be no loose mulch or gravel or rock
Yeah.
sold.
No loose mulch, manure, gravel, or rock or materials. It would all have to be in a bag, if
So-
anything they'd have.
That's my amendment that I'd like to offer.
So do we know where that would go, Keith, Lance? Do we need time to work on this? Hold on.
It's gonna go in the comprehensive development plan, correct? Not in the actual zoning ordinance?
Yeah, it would actually be in the ordinance, because those are both the same, the rezoning and the comprehensive development plan. I think it would, I think you could add those as probably a section 4 in the ordinance as an amendment.
Would it be better, and would it be acceptable to do this at the next reading so that we can hash out, make sure we have the language perfect? Because we're kind of talking about some very general things that could involve other things that we're not quite thinking
Yeah.
about if we don't put our minds to it.
Yes, we can do that, as long as we're all in agreement, because assuming this passes the first reading, then I need to regroup with the neighborhood there, knowing where we are moving forward.
And I think the applicants have stipulated to that,
Yes.
correct? Is it-
And Alderman Collins, you have every right to change your mind in the next few minutes. If you feel the conversation's going in a certain direction, you want to add, you want to try it again.
Okay, I thank you. But I think I'm good for right now.
Okay.
And I'm sure we're gonna have some questions about the truck entrance, so
Okay.
I'm gonna let other people have a shot at it.
Alderman Collins, thank you. Alderman Bergdorf.
Oh, that's me. Hi. How y'all doing? Hi, thank you. Mr. Page, correct?
Yes, sir.
Hey,
Yes, sir.
I'm Mark. Nice to meet you tonight.
Nice to
Thank you
meet
for
you.
coming in and bringing this presentation.
Yes,
I have
sir.
a couple of questions for you here. Just the history of the business model that you're in. It sounds like, I've not been to Franklin. I've only heard. Can you tell me a little bit about your Franklin store?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
So that was an acquisition, actually. It was an existing nursery. And so that really doesn't follow the Moon Valley prototype at all. So this would be completely different than the Franklin one. It was just one that Moon Valley Nurseries actually bought and kind of kept it the same, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the Moon Valley prototype is more of what we've seen in the plans. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, sir. Yes. And I have a video as well that will
I
show.
don't need to see a video. Thank you, I appreciate that. Unless other aldermen want to see it, I'm fine without it, but I'm sure they'll let you know. The other questions I've got are, so this is more of a retail establishment of what you're trying to put here at this 4.8 acres, is that correct, or 4.4? 4.48 acres?
Yes, sir.
Okay, it's retail.
Yes, sir.
Okay, in and of itself. So you're going to have retail hours, and we were informed as well that you would be shutting down winter winter, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, when you're going to purchase the property, you're planning to purchase the property, you have not purchased the property yet, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then you alluded to the fact that you're looking at another piece of property in Hendersonville at 505 East Main, correct?
We were, and then TDOT didn't allow us to have access to the site, and that's when we switched over to this site.
TDOT didn't allow you to have access to the site. Can you elaborate on that?
It's
What was their objection?
Their objection was that there was a development going into the east of us, and they just wanted us to use their access.
And that's directly across from Scottish Highlands over there, correct? Am I correct in that assessment? Okay. Next to Tyne Bay. Does that sound familiar?
I don't recognize that name.
Okay.
505 East Main Street.
Yeah, okay, all right. So TDOT didn't want you in there for some reason.
That's correct, just
Okay.
because of how busy Main Street is. Yes, sir.
Okay. And Main Street is pretty busy at that location, it is. So that leads us to the other question, the other piece. We've understand that TDOT has signed off on on this piece of property because the 505 piece of property was too busy for you and your retail establishment, correct?
They don't have any jurisdictional authority over this property. So we did meet with them, but they didn't really get to say yes or no to us.
Okay, they just said, we wash our hands of this one. Hendersonville's on their own on this one, is that what they said?
Yeah, they just said, I mean, we met with Stanley Sumner, Michael Martin was in the meeting, and they just said, hey, we're pro-development, we support development, maybe move the truck access up closer to the neighborhood entrance away from our ramp.
Okay. The other question I've got then is, when you look at the piece of property, and it is zoned, and I'm going to bring this around here in a minute, it is zoned residential, low density, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what does that mean? If it were to be developed as homes, how many homes per acre could be developed on that piece of property?
On this property, you can develop 16 homes.
Is that correct, Keith?
Keith, we need you up here, please.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so this is one of the things that changed. If you can remember, here last year, we changed the minimum lot size from 12,500 square foot to 20,000. So it was closer to 15 or 16 that might have been able to be there. But with that change, it makes it more like 6 or 7. Would be.
And this piece of property is going to be about 6 or 7
Yeah.
per acre.
It'd be 6 or 7, and, you know, it would have to probably be aligned where all of them are facing the road.
Yes, okay.
So there wouldn't be enough room in there for, a new road.
Okay.
They would have to have access.
Okay, all right, great, thank you, that helps me clear that up. But knowing this going forward, and it was already zoned for low-density residential, and I have a constituent who bought a piece of property, it was 2 lots, and the previous owner built over the line, and it's in the older part of Hendersonville, built over one of the lines of the 2 lots. And he owns both lots. He made the mistake of thinking that he could change the lines. So now he's stuck, and he's got a house that's built over the property lines and has come to the city and has come to me and has made the rounds that, no, he cannot change because it does not meet standards. It does not meet our new standards in the city of Hendersonville. So he didn't do his due diligence and bought that piece of property not unaware that he could not change the lines. You're coming in, your company is coming in wanting to buy the piece of property, knowing that it's low-density residential. It is built for that purpose. It was zoned for that purpose. I suggest we continue to keep it low-density residential, because we have had, and just in my short time here in this board, we've had developers come up and say, I'll promise you the moon, and we will continue, and we say, yeah, it sounds great. Then they come back and say, well, we need this, we need this, we need this, and then they essentially, many developers, I'm sorry, I'm not counting you as one, I'm only suggesting I've been burned before, so I'm not going to be able to support this as it is. Thank you very much. I appreciate you.
Alderman Bergdorf, thank you. Alderman Martin.
You guys have since cured a lot of the issues that people had concerns with. Do you have that drawing that we can speak to?
Which drawing?
The one that you showed TDOT?
Can you send that to? Okay. Yeah,
So while they get
CJ can get it sent over to.
So while they get that queued up, I'm going to give a little bit of history about this project. This came before us in our last Hendersonville Planning Commission meeting, and that was it was a 4-hour session. We ended up not even leaving there till midnight, and we were so exhausted we were wondering if clouds looked at humans and talked about what shape they were in. But this was a project that we spent a lot of time on, and the Planning Commission really struggled with it because of the same concerns that everybody has been kind of voicing, and the same concerns that we've been receiving via email. We ended up recommending it, both recommending it for approval. That went to General Committee. And one of the concerns was with the mulch and the odors and the fertilizer. Alderman Garza addressed that in the General Committee, and it's been addressed here. It will be again in your development plan, or however they want to address it. Since that General Commission meeting, we had a meeting with TDOT. One of the concerns that we had was traffic in that area and that curb cut and the proximity that somebody brought up to the on-ramp. Something that the owner, jurisdiction is limited to where that brown and that green fence is. TDOT does not own Saundersville Road, so they made some recommendations. The only thing they didn't seem to like was the location of that drive aisle where the trucks are. However, they were comfortable with it when the volume of it was limited to 1 semi-truck a month and some flatbed trucks. So they were okay with that. And the 200-foot rule, that was addressed in the revised plan that they're going to pull up and show, where you have the vehicles for the parking lots. I think it's an average of nine customers a day, and that's well beyond that intersection. The drawing that they'll eventually pull up shows some restriping. The city already has a turn lane that they're adding to turn right onto Avondale Road. So the city was in a position to combine that with adding some restriping to kind of fix that. The concern TDOT had was if a semi-truck is parked there trying to turn left into the truck drive aisle, it would be blocking one of the through streets. So by adding the center lane, that is a place for a truck to, if they do have to wait, to kind of be without blocking either direction of travel. So TDOT liked it. They would have, they kind of recommended having an entrance off of Windcrest Way, but most of our emails were from the neighbors saying we don't want access off of Windcrest Way. So what was presented is something I think that the neighbors would like. Some of the other concerns that you guys have already addressed, Planning Commission took out some future uses. There was concerns about some of the other uses popping up after this business moves on, or if the deal falls through, are they going to build something else that may be a problem? So we took out those listed uses from what would have been in the original general commercial listing. There's not going to be plants. It's all going to be trees. there was a concern about the validity of the deal. So on the call with TDOT was the actual Mooncrest owners who were talking about the volumes and comparing Franklin and kind of giving us all the information that we needed and TDOT needed to make that decision. And we also like that it's a seasonal business, so it's not going to be running all year round.
Yes, sir.
So I think they're going to pull it up, and we'll have something to really look at. And you guys have received a lot of help from the city kind of making this happen. Are you guys paying voluntary impact fees, or you're all paying fees?
No.
No? Okay.
No. But yeah, we have spent a lot of time with the city staff, and they've been very helpful.
Okay.
On the stats you were mentioning?
Yeah.
Do you care if I just read them off from Franklin real quick?
Please do. I'm
Okay.
trying to get
Yes.
everybody oriented here.
Yes, yeah, thank you, Alderman Martin. This year in Franklin, Tennessee, at the location, since January 1st, there were 2,252 customer trips over the past 9 months. That's an average of 250 per month, and then less than 9 per day. It's 8.34 trips per day that Franklin is producing from having their business there. When you look at the trips generated by residential, most engineers use 8 trips per day per home. So if we're going off 6 to 7 homes on this piece of property, it sounds like, I thought it was 16, my apologies, but 6 or 7 homes would potentially be 48, to 60-ish trips per day compared to our 9. Also, I just wanted to mention as well, right now, across all locations, we're seeing 13 semi-trucks per year, which is an average of just over 1 per month. And they track these trucks meticulously on site. They know exactly where the trucks are at all times. They track them as they come in. They open the gate. They get them in. They get the product unloaded, and they get them back out of there. They're coming from Moon Valley Nurseries farms, which are in California and Houston, and they're trucked by Moon Valley Nurseries. So it's all truly in-house by Moon Valley Nurseries. Across 50 locations with Moon Valley, they're planning on growing a lot from 50. They just received a $750 million investment from a private equity firm to continue to grow across the country. So I just wanted everybody to know that they aren't some nursery trying to do a second location. They have 50, and they're growing very fast. They do $8 million a year in sales on average, or $20,000 a day across their 50 locations. And the way that we've been thinking about it is, for the city, it's similar to the economics of a Chick-fil-A with 1/100th of the traffic. I also just wanted to say that I really have tried to work with the neighbors. I would be more than happy to meet with you guys in person, please, and I'll do my best to accommodate you guys. I was watching Tennessee beat down on Oklahoma over the weekend, and I have 2 kids under 2.5 years old, and so I'm hanging out with them on the weekends and talking to the neighbors of Windcrest Way over the weekend, trying to make this good for them. I'm trying to do a good job for my client, Moon Valley Nursery, and also for the neighbors and for the city.
Can you have your engineer talk about this?
Yes, sir.
Improved traffic.
We have a point of order question.
Or is this new information? Is this in our packet?
No, this is not in the packet.
Okay.
We just had a meeting with TDOT. I don't know if they had time to put it in there. It's very important to this discussion, which is why I asked them to pull it up.
Chance to review it or
That's what, he's
study
going to
it?
review it with us right now.
Okay. Alderman Robertson, I'll come back to you in just a few minutes. Alderman Martin, go ahead.
Thanks, Mr. Martin. Yes, what you see on the screen here is a concept that we put together in prep for our meeting with TDOT. Just for some clarification, prior to the original development that was at this site, we received a positive recommendation from TDOT to put a right-in, right-out at this site when it was a hotel and a gas station. This next go-around, Obviously, we're coming with a much less extensive use with traffic generations that are minimal at best. And so in in prep for the meeting, based on the concerns that we had received from Mr. Martin at the Planning Commission and others at the Planning Commission, we wanted to come up with a potential solution. What this shows is us moving our truck access to align with Avondale Drive. What it also shows is it shows us extending the left turn lane that is dedicated for a left turn into Windcrest Way down all the way to the intersection of Avondale Drive and creating a dedicated left turn lane onto Avondale, which would, in the present day and present time, there is not a dedicated left turn to get onto Avondale. So cars are blocking traffic from making a through movement. This would allow traffic to move over, turn left onto Avondale and not block anyone and allow traffic to keep going south. This also shows a center lane from Avondale down to the on-ramp, which would allow for the one truck per month that would be coming to this facility to sit in the middle of the road and not block traffic at all before they turn into the site. So in essence, this concept was shared with the Public Works Department and the city engineer. We also shared it with TDOT, as Mr. Martin stated. Now, TDOT did view this as a separate issue from the access to the site, but as Ben mentioned, TDOT has no authority over Saundersville Road north of the on-ramp. Any other questions? I'm happy to answer them.
Alderman Martin.
I'm good.
Appreciate
Thanks.
that. Next, I've got Alderman Garza. Do we want to focus on this design right now? Next, I've got Alderman Garza. We'll go to Alderman Garza.
Yeah, I just had,
So did you want to ask a question specific to this design, Mr. Waters? Or else we'll come back to you in just a few minutes. Is it about this design or is it about the proposal in general? Okay, we'll come back to you in just a second, though. We're going to go to Alderman Garza. We'll come back to you in a minute. Alderman Garza.
yes, thanks, Ben. Some of these people may have left, but there's no entrance to this from Windcrest Way.
There was, and then we removed it.
I know, but people made a comment about that, and I don't know if they're still here or not, but that's over with.
Yes, sir.
And secondly, on a lighter note, since
So what we are still showing an entrance off of Windcrest Way, and that was a recommendation from city staff and the city engineer. So we've always shown
for
an
trucks?
entrance- No.
Oh,
no,
not
sir,
for trucks.
Not for trucks.
Okay.
Just for regular
customers.
No, that's
regular
okay.
customers. So the whole reason for us having the dedicated truck area to the south, which is fully gated and fully controlled, is to eliminate anything going onto Windcrest Way and turning into this site.
A customer could come off Windcrest Way.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. And on a lighter note, you said you have a video. How long is it?
35 seconds.
Can we take a look at it?
Yes, sir.
Here, Christine, hold on. We're going to come to you in a few minutes, okay?
This is one that we just finished in McKinney, Texas, that opened about a month ago. Just for your reference, this was a 4-acre site, so it's about the same size, a little bit smaller. This might be the longer version, so it just.
Thank you, Jason.
Same thing.
So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
So Alderman Garza, anything else?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. So I want
sir.
to just update you all where we are. So we have in the queue Alderman Waters, Alderman Sassy, Alderman Collins. We still have the opportunity to call some folks, especially Christine Gardner, who had spoken earlier. We're also been here for an hour and 40 minutes. I am fine going forward unless there's a motion to take a break. We do have something else on the agenda that's going to take us some time, I suspect. But right now, we're going to go to Alderman Waters. Okay, Alderman Waters, go ahead.
Let me first say I wished I had the power and the energy to act like that lady there. You made me feel bad. But I'm confused, Mayor. And that's saying a lot when I'm confused. The ordinance says that we're to talk about Windcrest Moon Nursery Commercial Plaza, right?
Yes.
Where does it come in that we talk about leasing rental property and houses? Where does that come in?
So I think we're that, okay, and I'm going to do my best to explain this.
I'm
and
sorry?
Keith might have to come up here again. Is that currently this property would allow 6 to 7 houses on it? And I think that's where that question came from. So if we don't.
No, it doesn't say that, sir, in the ordinance. It lists the things that will be allowed. None of them is mentioned about rental property, about.
The current zoning for the property is residential. If we deny this application, the current zoning on the property is residential, and it would allow 6 to 7 houses on there.
It goes back to residential.
It would continue to be residential.
If we vote this down.
If we vote this down.
All right.
Keith, did I explain that well? Okay, thank you.
Right.
Lance said I did, okay.
Let me say, let's look at page 29 of the picture, and God knows, this don't look like what you just showed us on the screen here as far as Saundersville Road. Am I right in the location of this property, this construction is going to be right there above the white truck? Has everybody got a picture of that?
Is it 29?
Page 29, yeah.
Thank you for doing that.
Yes.
I don't have 29. I may have ripped it out. Thank you, Jason. Okay.
Okay. And you're trying to tell us that this is what it's going to look like in the future?
So Alderman Waters, is this the page 29 that you're looking at? This right here?
I can't see, sir.
I'll come down.
Page 29, it shows a picture of Saundersville Road,
Yes, okay.
where this is going to be just below.
I think that's a current picture of Saundersville Road.
I'm just confused about this location, the way I'm looking at it. I mean, we have enough accidents and enough problems at this location with
Thank you.
no lights, no nothing. And then you come here and you show a vehicle turning into to get on the bypass. I can't understand that. Nothing's been said about a traffic light, has there? No?
So do y'all want to address that? Are y'all looking at putting a traffic light there, traffic signal?
We haven't, just the city staff hasn't talked about that.
You haven't?
No, sir. No, the city staff hasn't
That's okay.
brought that up to us.
And let's talk about these, what do you call them, tractors that you haul stuff around. The question was asked a while ago about noise.
Yes, sir.
And your answer was the flashing lights will get the attention of people. How dumb you think I am? It's noise of these it's equipment that you're going to have going out that's irritating me as a resident there, not the flashing light. And again, you say there's no signs of any kind of horns or noise or sirens or nothing, right?
Yeah, we can modify them to where they don't.
Pardon me?
We can modify them to where they don't have that.
You can buy them. What?
You can modify the forklift to where when it backs up, instead of it beeping to alert people that it's backing up, that it would just have like a flashing light on it that's approved. What's that?
And your hours are still 8 to 5, right?
What's that, sir?
Your hours of operation is 8 to 5?
10 to 6.
10 to 6. Oh, my bad. I'm still confused, Mayor, about these rental property houses. Maybe you can clear me up at a later time on it before it comes to another reading, if you don't mind.
Sure.
But I'll yield right now. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Waters. Alderman Sassy.
Thank you. So I'm looking at the map here of the property, and the site plan that you showed, it's now modified, so the road is at the same level as Avondale. Is that correct? Was that the red line?
Yes, sir, correct. In that exhibit that you see there, the red line is the modified position of the truck area. And what it also does is, one of the comments that was brought up in the planning commission was that we needed to adhere to a 20-foot buffer requirement along the south side of the site, which there's a 20-foot gas easement along the south side of the site. So we've moved the truck access another 20 feet, even more so. So you have a 20-foot gas easement and a 20-foot landscape buffer that is going to go in before you get to the truck area. And yes, the entrance to that will be directly aligned across from Avondale Drive.
And so the traffic that's going to be going, let's see, so I'm just trying to logistically determine how this is going to work. So that the trucks are going to go into that center lane and turn into that truck lot at that new intersection that's
Correct.
being created, right?
Well, the intersection is already in existence. This concept shows us.
And that's going to be a four-way instead of a three-way, right? Essentially.
Essentially, but the trucks that are exiting are only turning right. So theoretically, you could say it's a three-way. It would act as a four-way, but only trucks will be allowed in there. If there's not a truck turning in there, it is fully gated and no one can go in there or leave.
How do the trucks gain access to that gated area?
From somebody that's on site, an operations manager that would unlock it for them based on them tracking the truck as it's coming in from Houston.
Okay. I'm looking at the street view of this location. Are we able to bring that up, the street view of where that road will be for the trucks?
The road that we see right in front of us right now?
Yeah, yes,
Okay.
that's correct, yeah. At the intersection of Saundersville and Avondale. Can we see the street view, though? Because I'm looking at the street view. That's the nice thing about having this handy-dandy tool here. I can look look at that. And there's a lot of power lines running through there. Have you looked into the height of those power lines? Because, I mean, there's something running really low there. Have you looked into that and determined that the height of those power lines is sufficient, or are they going to have to be moved?
I haven't personally, but Moon Valley did, and they gave me the thumbs up on it.
Keith, have we determined that as well? Have we looked at that? Because those seem pretty low. If you look at the other side of the road, I was on Saundersville on my tablet here, and the power lines they seem to be much higher up on the other side of the road. I mean, look at that.
Oh, we need you to come up here for us, please. And tell us who you are.
Sorry, Clint Anderson with Peak Development Partners. With that, the way the trees are transported with Moon Valley, they're actually laying down on the truck as opposed to standing up. So that's why it won't be a problem.
So are these going to be flatbed trucks only?
Correct.
Okay.
It's mainly all flatbed trucks. They average about one semi per month.
Okay.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yes, sir.
So can we now go back to that plan? Thank you. And can you scroll up so it's seen at Windcrest? So there's a meridian there. This is only going to be, this is changed now, right? So it's just going to be customer traffic, no trucks right here, right?
Yeah, that's how it's always been, is just customers on the north end of the site.
Okay. There's a meridian there. Is that going to be a problem for that incoming traffic? Because I could see, that there's very little room between Saundersville and the entrance there, and so cars turning in there, maybe there's traffic coming, someone else comes zooming in. I could see a potential traffic collision there.
Okay, I can answer that. So there is a median there, correct, yes. Our entrance on that side lines directly up with the existing entrance that goes to the office development to the north. Now, we have, obviously, from a connectivity standpoint, you strategically want that, you want the alignment. The other thing is if we move, we have stayed off of the northwestern portion of this site. There are existing, actually, I believe they're evergreen trees at the northwest corner of the site. We do not want to move our entrance any further to the west so that we can retain as many of those trees as possible.
Yeah.
It's also worth noting that prior to getting to this point, we did go through and based on the recommendation from the city engineer and the Public Works Department, they asked us to do an access traffic study of this site. The traffic study that we got back, even with a retail number on the trip generation for this site, recommended no additional improvements to Saundersville Road or Windcrest.
Great. I will say this. I was coming to this meeting ready to vote no for this, but hearing from a lot of the citizen comments, reading the emails that I've read, seeing the changes and the impacts that you guys are making, I'm having a real hard time determining my next course of action on here. But you've really given me a lot to think about on this. But that's all I have to say at this point, at this time. Thank you.
Alderman Sassy, thank you. Alderman Collins, I'm going to skip over you because Alderman Robertson hasn't spoken yet. Alderman Robertson.
Mr. Free, would you come forward? And I might have a question for Public Works as well. So with the new standards that the BOMA has approved, this property could only accommodate 6 or 7 homes. Is that the right answer?
Yeah, I believe that's correct. At the most, maybe 8, but I think 6 or 7.
I'm going to lean on your judgment on this. I'm going to ask you to make a judgment to answer a question. I understand the concern of rental property, that a developer would come in like, I'm not going to mention any names, but they would.
But the lot width is 90 foot.
Hold on, guys. Guys, hold on. Keith.
Yeah. Excuse me.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, let me get this. Okay.
So we good?
I'm sorry.
Yeah. So my question is, for a piece of land that only allows for 6 or 7 homes, is there any realistic market for homes for rent for 6 or 7 homes in your expert judgment? I mean, typically, and I'm thinking of Falcon, is it Falcon Ridge? They were trying to put more homes closer together. I mean, they had like 50-foot lots to cram them in there, because they said that they couldn't make any money if we required them to have larger lots. So really, is that a red herring, that this is potential for rental homes development, 6 or 7 homes?
Yeah.
Your expert opinion.
Expert opinion would be, no national rental home developer would do it, but definitely a smaller developer could, but they could just as well be owner occupied. But, you know, someone could develop it with the number of homes that are there or that could be there, either homeowner or rental, really regardless if there were,
Yeah.
if there were 10, if there were 8 or 6 or 7, or if there were just 2. You know, the possibility is still the same. There's really no difference, you know, in the possibility. There's,
I mean, but they can't build apartments on this piece of property without coming back to this board for
yeah,
approval.
they would have to rezone it to do
The
that.
only thing that they can build on that property in the existing zone are residential homes, 6 to 7 homes on this 4-something point acres.
Yes, from what I quickly calculated, that's what I calculated. It may be something, if this does go forward to the second reading, the developer, if they feel that there could be more to the day standards that could fit on there, they could kind of show that. I mean, but that would be fine. So it may be more, but I believe it's probably 6 to 8.
Okay.
I hope I answered your question there, but that's just a very difficult thing to determine, you know, whether it would be rental or would be owner occupied.
Yeah.
There would be no specific, there'd be a few things on the amount of brick, but generally over the overall design of what homes could be built there, it's straight zoning. It would just have to meet the setbacks and the lot sizes.
I'm not real sure that with the current zoning, that this land could ever be developed, that this might stay vacant, kind of like green space along Saundersville Road, because I just don't think it meets the economic standard, you know, of a developer. But that's my unprofessional opinion on it. I do want to compliment Mr. Page. I think that the developer has done this right. You have reached out to the community, you have listened to them, and you have made a good, strong case. So however this vote goes and however I vote, I want to thank you for the professional approach that you have taken in this matter. And if this fails, I hope that you will continue to search land in Hendersonville for a home if this fails at this point. Okay, I'd like to talk to someone from Public Works who's been involved with TDOT. Did someone from staff go with Alderman Martin when TDOT was?
Thank you, Mr. Robertson.
Yes, thank you. We're just trying to do what's best. I hope you understand that. Yeah, thank you. Ms. Locke, Alderman Martin talked about going to TDOT and working with them, and so did you attend that meeting?
Yes, I did. It was a virtual meeting, but I was present.
Okay. So can you give me a summary of that meeting?
Yes, it was much as Alderman Martin stated, that TDOT does not have any jurisdiction over this area.
Right.
They had recommendations for moving the truck access further away, having everyone use Windcrest Way. But, I mean, essentially, they defer to the city as it's our public right-of-way, and they have no jurisdiction over the project.
But they did reject it for Main Street, for development at the Main Street, according to Mr. Page.
I was not present for that meeting.
Okay.
But that does make sense.
So are we expanding Saundersville Road to put in another turn lane that trucks turn into the loading area? Or are we using the existing infrastructure and just putting a turn lane in an existing lane that they would use?
So I think what has been discussed is that they would utilize much of the existing, existing right-of-way, potentially adding a little bit of asphalt to provide that storage left turn lane into the truck area. The city does not have a current project to add a turn lane.
And with the improvement of Exit 8, with the tunnel and everything, how would this affect that improvement? Would there be any impact on that project?
No, there
with
would not
this?
be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's all. Mr. Page, let me ask you a question. You showed us a beautiful piece of property in Texas.
Yes, sir.
And you said that's 4 acres as
Yes.
well.
Yes, sir.
Although the access to that was a much larger highway than
Yes. Yes,
what
sir.
we're looking at here.
Yes, sir.
And it looked like on there too that there were more than trees being sold. At that location are more than trees being sold. It looked like there were shrubs and stuff.
Large shrubs and bushes as well, yes, sir.
So is that going to be the case here? I mean, is that a comparable, you used it as a comparable illustration?
Yes.
Is that a comparable illustration of what you plan to do?
Yes, sir.
So it's not just trees, but it's large shrubs as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, the majority of it being trees. None of them are in the ground though. They're all put in these really beautiful wooden boxes. And somebody else had a comment about the watering. They all have individual drip lines that are put on the trees. So there's not like spraying of water all over, or, heavy water. They're dripped, because they want to conserve the amount of water they use and spend money on.
Is this, the ownership, is it a franchise ownership?
No, sir.
Are these franchise, or is it a single owner?
Yes, sir.
Who is the primary owner, or who's the owner of this company?
The main one now is the private equity company that
Private equity?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Out of, you know where it is?
Not off the top of my head.
You know the name of it, or is that
Let
proprietary?
me actually, I had somebody from Moon Valley texting me. They'll probably answer it here in a second. They're watching on the live stream. He's actually typing right now. Stone Court.
Stone Court,
Yes.
private equity.
Out of
company
New York.
Out of New York that owns this company.
Yes, sir.
So, I'm sorry, Keith, again, thank you, Mr. Page.
Yep.
Thank you for your answers. How, these conditions that were mentioned, these amendments, how stone cold are those over the years to come? I mean, are they enforceable by the city, that they have to adhere to them, or could the company at its own discretion change the amendments, the conditions?
No, anything that's adopted with this combined development plan
Okay.
is a part of it, and it's a part of the approval.
Okay.
It's baked in and locked in. And then, so what we do, and we do it all the time with our enforcement, is that if something goes awry and a development is not following the approved plan development, then, we inform them and give them the opportunity to make correction. If they don't make correction, then we'll cite them in court.
Okay.
And if need be, we can progress that legally as well, if it becomes a real issue. And
Yeah,
so,
let me close, because I've taken way too much time, as my wife would say. But I don't think that there is a chance that this board would ever approve an application that was rejected like what was earlier requested, the hotel and that. I don't think that this board, that this city would ever approve that. And even people new board members, I just don't think that will ever happen. I believe the health of a city can be determined by the strength and cohesion of its neighborhoods. And every action that I take, I want to do no harm to neighborhoods. Now, sometimes for the greater good, we might have to. But my objective is always what does less harm to neighborhoods. And I will use that standard when I make a decision in this case. Thank you, Mayor.
Alderman Robertson, thank you. Alderman Peterson to speak for the first time.
Thank you, Mayor. And I will, I hope I can be brief. And I promise not to bring up any rental houses. But what I would like to do is to continue calling on every department head in this room tonight. If I could hear from Tamara, I have a financial question. And I hope she's prepared because it involves division and math and all kinds of great things.
Bring a calculator.
I know this is probably hypothetical, but I've heard from the developer that this average annual sales is $12 million over their 50 locations. What is Hendersonville's portion of $9 million in retail sales?
Well, I'll have to go back and do the math on that one. I can't do that out of my head. Do you want to give me a couple?
Is it a lot?
So,
Well, it would be a decent amount, yes.
I mean, sort of a rule of thumb is about 1%. It'd be a little bit,
Yeah.
around $90,000.
Yeah.
$90,000. Okay. Thank you very much. And also, while I'm calling on people, Mayor, could we ask our county commissioner to widen Saundersville Road for us?
You can ask for anything.
And Jason, if you would please go back to that original picture of the empty lot.
Is that the area, the Google Maps aerial?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
Okay. That one or the one, there we go, okay.
That one. And so what I'm hearing, and I will reference low-density housing after all. And we're talking about 6 or 7 or 8 houses perhaps. And Mr. Free said they would have to have individual driveways out onto Saundersville Road. Is that correct?
Yeah, we'd have to see, but the way that could divide up could be, you'd have, the majority of lots would face Saundersville Road, and you might have maybe 2 or 3 lots that would actually face the entry to the neighborhood. But more than likely, we wouldn't allow, they'd all have driveways if they faced Saundersville Road. More than likely, we would probably limit that access to where maybe it was 1 or 2 driveways. I don't know that we probably wouldn't allow each individual lot, but, you know, there might be a couple of driveways and 2 or 3 houses, maybe 3 houses would have to share, you know, a driveway or something like that. So that would just have to be determined, and Public Works would determine what that would be.
Okay. But whether it's 2 or 3 or that's reckless. And I'm not pointing fingers, but that's a busy road that close to the bypass. That's not a very good use of that property. We're asking for a lot of provisions on this property. Tree buffers, impact fees, lighting the Windcrest entrance, landscaping the Windcrest entrance, lighting the on-ramp, a traffic light, height of power lines. Should this go back to the Planning Commission? This is a lot. Does this go back to the site plan, or where does this fit in? I'm getting deja vu all over again. This is another echo port. We spent, what, 2 hours discussing EchoPort, 3 hours? And then it was voted down. I don't want to waste anybody's time. I'm ready to vote right now. I'm in favor of this project. I think it's the best location, the best land use for it. I don't want to see tall skinnies built in there. This has 9 visits per day. You're not going to find anything else for 9 visits a day. $90,000 that we're going to get in sales tax. I think that's, is that 2 police cars?
Close.
Yes, Mayor, I am ready to vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Peterson. Alderman Garten, who has not spoken yet on this.
So I appreciate everyone coming and speaking on this tonight. I think we definitely had a different opinion here than what I've received via emails, phone calls, messages, people coming into my business to tell me what they think of this. I appreciate Peak Development and the time and effort that you guys have put into this. I'm looking at those homeowners right there along the way, Ms. Garner, the Mantels, I believe it's Mr. Garcia, and I can't put this in their backyard if they don't want it there. If they would rather see those 6 to 7, 8 homes, that's the direction I'm going to go with this. So right now I know of the 3 that actually back up, and this will be in their backyard, 2 of them are against it, 1 is for it. So tonight, I'm not going to be able to support it for that reason. If it passes tonight and comes back for the second reading and you're able to get them on board with it, then I would be willing to
Thanks
support
for
it.
the feedback.
Alderman Garten, thank you. Alderman Collins.
I have some questions for Sarah, Director Locke, about the turning lanes. So I'd like to talk with you about that. So can we go back to that other visual that shows the potential additional center lane? Thank you. So this is going to be a center lane kind of like what we have on Main Street where people can turn left or turn right?
I believe that the portion that's shown right now north of Avondale would actually be dedicated left turn pockets.
And then as you get further, it would be dedicated right onto Avondale?
As you go south of Avondale, Jason, I'm sorry, can you scroll down a little bit, please? Thank you. My understanding was that that would be a dual, and that would allow, potentially allow some kind of stacking for people turning left off of Avondale to then be able to merge into traffic.
So okay, I think I've got that now, but what I don't really fully understand, and I want your objective opinion, how does this impact the people who live in Windcrest who are trying to get out? They can it backs up beyond their neighborhood, so they will have a safer place to wait until somebody obeys the rules and doesn't block the intersection so they can turn left onto Windcrest Way. But does this help them get out of Windcrest?
I don't know that this does anything to help getting out of Windcrest. Doesn't do anything to mitigate the southbound traffic on Saundersville.
So I suppose that's another issue for another day. Give me just a second. Okay, is there a possibility of a traffic light here?
I would not recommend it.
It's too close, it messes things up for us.
Yes, because it would not be a good idea to signalize Avondale without also signalizing the ramp, and then you have the same situation at Walton Ferry and Old Shackle.
Would signalizing the ramp be appropriate?
Potentially. I mean, that's something that could be evaluated. I don't know that that would improve the flow of traffic through this area. I think it would probably make it worse.
If we, yeah, we've talked about this before, and it's very difficult to, okay.
Yeah.
So after exit 8 is fixed, do you think it would be appropriate to signalize this ramp? Or we have to evaluate what traffic flow happens after that?
I think we would still have to evaluate the offset intersection with Avondale. I think it's pretty complicated right there.
Okay.
So signalizing in general without addressing both of them would probably not be a good idea.
I think you've kind of already answered this, but this idea of the center lane with the dedicated left is a thumbs up from you?
Yes, this was, we believe that this would be very beneficial to the area. We think it would help people get out of Avondale a little bit easier as well, especially since there's not going to be a truck turning into that delivery area, but maybe twice a month. So for the most part, those drivers would benefit from having that space.
So this benefits us with or without a nursery?
I
Okay.
believe it would, yes.
Okay, that's what I needed to understand, because the traffic patterns in here are very complex, and I need you to tell me what it is.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And Alderman Garton brought up the people who live right behind it, one of which is Ms. Gardner, and if we can suspend the rules for her to, she has a letter for us.
Without objection, Ms. Gardner, would you read your letter for us, please?
I also had a comment related to one of the things that was brought up about the number of trips and the traffic with housing compared to the
Hold on, Ms. Gardner.
nursery.
Do we want to hear her comment, or do you want to hear the letter, or do you want to hear both?
I think we need to stick with the letter.
So we have a new neighbor, and Ms. Garden, I appreciate you got some feedback. I'm glad that you were able to receive that and share that. I actually have a new neighbor, someone that just moved in the last month, and I went over, I had already met him, and I went over, do I need to introduce myself again?
You're good.
Okay. I went over and said, I don't know if you know there's a meeting tonight. It'd be great if you could come, or if you have an opinion about this, if you wanted to send me with a letter, I'd be happy to do that. And so he asked me for the details about that, and he said he's in favor. How do I pass that along? And I said, well, you could just write a quick letter, and he said he's on his way to work. He works at Safaris. He said, can you put something together, and then I'll approve it? And I said, okay, I guess I could do that. So that's where the idea came from, and then with that, I decided, why don't I just find out how the folks on the tree line feel? So that's what I'm presenting to you right now, is a message that I sent to folks. I'd heard their feedback already, but I wanted to have something formal to provide to you, knowing that they couldn't come. So an example of what I sent was, John and Yovan, please reply yes if you'd like to sign your names to this letter. Good evening, Mayor and Board of Aldermen. I'm writing to vote yes for the Moon Valley proposal, but with the limited future use restriction. I apologize for not being able to attend this evening, but wanted to share my vote yes for Moon Valley Nursery. I reside on Huntington Place on the other side of the tree line from the property. I would be close to the retention pond according to the design. If MVN is willing to have the drives and lot paved, not dirt or gravel, and the building be built of brick or stone similar to grade of the homes and office, I am in support. I would also want to ensure that there is a thick evergreen tree line that is also 15 to 20 feet tall to provide full privacy for our yard if this is to be a commercial property. And we would also ask for a fence for added security. MVN sounds like they could be a great neighbor, especially given the little traffic expected and the hours of operation, only 9 cars per day. If all is agreeable and all future owners and tenants must also comply and maintain, they have my vote. If not, or not in writing, I withdraw my support for the proposal. And so, if you could pull up that.
Christine, we can't hear you when you walk away from the microphone.
If you could pull up that picture with the tree line, the overhead look, the green picture.
Yeah.
So, and respectfully, the Mantels are not in support of this, and I understand that, but I have the signatures starting at the top corner at Windcrest Way and Huntington Place.
Excuse me, Alderman Robertson, could you lean your microphone over to her a little bit? Thank you. Nobody's hearing a word you're saying right now.
At that first corner, Windcrest Way and Huntington Place, I have the signature of Mr. and Mrs. Adam Weeks, 101 Huntington Place. We do not have the Mantels. We have the next house, which is Mr. and Mrs. Renee Garcia, 105 Huntington Place. Our house is next, Mr. and Mrs. Brian Garner. The next house, Richard Bobo, who is my new neighbor, and Ali Bobo, who is his son who lives there with him. The next house, which is Mr. and Mrs. Scott Myers. The next house, which is Mr. and Mrs. John Hayes. And then,
You have to
there
be
he
at
is. He's the next one. I didn't have his number.
You have to be at the mic.
I didn't have his number, but he's the next one, so that takes us to 115. So all houses along that tree line are in support of moving forward with Moon Valley. We think they would be a great neighbor with these conditions.
Okay, thank you.
So of 8, you lack 1 or 2?
1,
Okay, thank you.
yeah.
With that.
You had mentioned Mr. Garcia, but he shared with me he wanted to sign the letter.
Alderman Collins, go ahead.
So I'm certainly ready to move this to a second reading. What I have heard from constituents, and this has happened before, is different than what Alderman Garten has heard from constituents. I am hearing that there are some exceptions, of course, and we definitely want to get everything in writing that we've talked about, but I am hearing that people really think that this is going to be a good neighbor for them, and the people of Windcrest overwhelmingly have expressed support to me. I've had 5 households and 7 people, I think, it might be 9, contact me. I might be off by a couple on that, but contact me being against it, and I've had a lot of people contact me in favor. So I'm going with my constituents on this. Thank you.
Alderman Collins, thank you. So we have 2 people I'd like to speak to, but I'll wait. Alderman Goodwin, you have not spoken on this item, so I'm going to go to you, then I'll go to Alderman Martin after that, and then hopefully we can wrap things up. Alderman Goodwin.
I just wanted to say, it's not in my ward, but I've received quite a few emails, and all of those people were opposed except one, so I'm going to have to vote with what the constituents in that area requested. Thank you.
Alderman Goodwin, thank you. Alderman Martin.
Alderman Peterson's right. We're laying a lot of things at you guys, and we can clean up the language on the second reading. I think evergreens, I think that's a tall ask, but you already have a natural tree line there. Would y'all be amenable to leaving some of that tree line there? That way the neighbors don't even notice a change, and they still have screening?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm ready to vote.
So one of the things I want to say I haven't heard quite yet. Alderman Waters, go ahead.
Thank you. I was just going to say, Mayor, not be disrespectful to this lady, but I think that's not the proper way for us to consider our decision on how we're going to vote by one person representing, she talked to 12 and all that. If they are that important, they should have come to the meeting tonight. And no disrespect to you, ma'am, But I think that's out of style for us here. Thank you, Mayor.
Alderman Waters, thank you. So I live in the next subdivision up, Stonecrest. I go by here. I'm one of those people who drives by here 8 times a day, probably if not more. There's a couple things I said that, a couple things that were said that sort of where my mind is. Alderman Robertson talked about doing the least harm when we make decisions like this. A couple other people, including Alderman Peterson, talked about the benefits. So I sort of look at it, we've got 2 choices here in my mind, is we can leave it the way it is, or we can allow this use. To me, I look at the most harm and the greatest benefit, not just the people who back up there. That's the folks that I mostly focus on. But I got to tell y'all, at least once a week, I get an email, and at least multiple times a week, I hear from my neighbors, other people that live down Saundersville Road. They don't want any more houses built on Saundersville Road. They don't want any more houses built in the subdivision on Saundersville Road. They know they have hundreds coming. And yes, 6 or 7 doesn't seem like a big deal, but we have the option of having a business there that's going to generate sales tax and going to generate a greater amount of property tax. I got to put those 2 together, like Alderman Robertson said about the least harm, like Alderman Peterson said about the greatest benefit. And being one of those people that goes by this all the time and just looking at the math of this, I think the least harm and the greatest benefit is the reason that I'm going to vote yes on this. We don't have anybody else in the queue right now. So it leads me to believe that it's time to take a vote. However, I will pause if somebody else wants to make a comment, or if somebody else wants to offer a motion to amend. However, right after that, I would really suggest we take a break. We have a couple folks here that can't take a break while we're meeting. So I'm going to pause. Alderman Robertson.
So many amendments, I hope that somebody's keeping track on them.
We actually don't have any. They were all withdrawn until second reading.
So we can clean up the language.
Okay.
So Jason, you ready for us? Okay. All those in favor, press the green button. Those opposed, press the red one. And hold it up there for just a minute, Jason. Alderman Robertson, Waters, Bergdorf. Okay, so that passes 8-5. Hold on just a second, please, Jason. Alderman Bergdorf, Dixon, Goodwin, Garden, and Waters vote against. Alderman Skidmore, Peterson, Martin, Sassy, Garza, Collins, and Robertson, and myself vote in favor of this. We will have second read. I'm sorry. Will we have second reading in 2 weeks, or will it be a month? It'll be a month. Okay. Need a motion. We have a motion to take a 10-minute break from Alderman Sassy. We have a second from Alderman Goodwin. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. We'll be back in 10 minutes. Okay, thank you all for that break. Now we're on to item 2 under ordinance and resolutions. This is second reading of ordinance 2024-15. This is an ordinance amending the budget ordinance 2024-08 to reflect final year adjustments to the city's 2024-25 fiscal year budget. Alderman Goodwin has a motion and a second from Alderman Robertson. I need to have you all look at the sheet of paper that Tamara just gave to you. You remember that we had a couple, we had an amendment that had a couple adjustments 2 weeks ago. If you look on this side of the sheet of paper, where you have sort of 3 different charts, the middle chart is the amendment that we passed 2 weeks ago. The bottom one is lines 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61. That's what I emailed you about yesterday to give you a heads up on that. So there are several items in there. We would be totally neutral of the revenue that comes in versus the expenses that go out, except for one item. And that one item is adding $90,000 to other professional services, and this is specific for the grants for signs on West Main, also a little bit on New Shackle. In the area generally, older part of town, that a lot of these were affected by the tornado, but it's not exclusive for tornado properties, but that is where the priority is. And so I'd hope that somebody would make a motion to add these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 items. So we have a motion from Alderman Dixon and a second from Alderman Waters. Okay? Alderman Sassy, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to speak in favor of the sign funding. This is a big deal to the businesses in that area. They're already struggling businesses, and then they get hit with the tornado too, and this is just one small thing that we can do to help support them. Now, am I right in that this additional amount will fund all of the existing approvals and all the pending approvals?
As of the other day, I think, but I think we've had a couple more. I think we've had a couple more come in just as far as applications. Yeah, Keith.
Yes, this amount will take care of the ones that we have that are tentative yeses, so the pending ones. But then it'll give us some room for some more. This thing has really picked up traction. So this additional funding, having the ability to tap into that, will let us take this as far as it will go with all the folks that need assistance, and to replace all those non-conforming signs with more attractive signs that are in conformance with our regulations.
Okay, so this will allot a total of $290,000, right? With this adjustment?
Yes, actually,
220.
yeah, 200 was in the original budget, so this would take it to 290. This is other professional services, so, it covers all of our other professional services. This all was things that were for Westlake and for the sign grant program. So if the sign grant program took it all, then that would be fine. So we're hopeful that we can get out as much as we can. So it's working real well.
And so at $290,000, that's funding a total of 29 signs, right? Because they're $10,000 a piece, is that right?
Yes, that would be.
Yeah, but not all of them get the maximum amount.
Some only
Okay,
get 3 or
okay.
4 or 2,000.
Understood.
So
Because it's a
10,000
match, right? They've got to put in some, and we're going to match it
Yes.
up to 10,000.
That's correct. And we did 2 in last year's budget. Even though we had a high budget, it just took a while for it to get foothold. And then so far, we have 7 that we've approved, and another 23 that are pending. And
Okay.
so that's just what we have now, but we have a lot more that we're looking to do as well.
So with these pending approvals, how much of this 290, if we approve this tonight, how much of that 290 will that use up, and how much will be left over at the end after that for additional approvals?
Yeah, this will gobble up about 143,000, so then we'll have 74,000. So this will give us capacity to do even more than we have that are tentative right now to do. So this is going to give us, I believe, plenty of capacity take care of it. I don't believe we're going to run out of
Okay.
this amount. So
Great.
I hope we do, and if we do, then, you know, we certainly would come back. But this would give us plenty so that, because what we don't want to do is we've got people excited about doing this and partnering in this. And so what we'd hate to do is then say, well, you know, that last 12, we're not going to be able to do, you wait till next year. We want to go ahead and move, you know, while things are moving. So this 90,000 would allow us to do that.
Thank you very much, Pete. Or Director Free.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of these properties are in Ward 3, so of course I'm a little biased, as is my counterpart here. Some of it's in Ward 1, some in Ward 2. But I just humbly ask the board to approve this because it's desperately needed in that area. Thank you.
Alderman Sassy, thank you. Alderman Skidmore.
Yes, thank you. I just need to ask Director for one question. It probably only takes 10 seconds there.
All right, here we go.
This has nothing to do with my reelection campaign signs, right?
No, it does not.
All right, good. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor.
Alderman Skidmore, thank you. Any other discussion? So we're voting on the amendment. We're good on that? Who made the motion on that? Okay. So we're voting on the amendment. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Now we're back on the main motion, and that's second reading of ordinance 2024-15 as amended. All those in favor of approving second reading of ordinance 2024-15, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Thank you. Now we're on item 4. This is ordinance 2024-19, second reading, an ordinance to adopt a private outdoor fee-based activity permit and policy in city parks as recommended by the Board of Parks and Recreation. Alderman Peterson.
So moved.
We have a motion from Alderman Peterson. We have a second from Alderman Goodwin. Any discussion? All those in favor of second reading of ordinance 2024-19, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Thank you. Now we're on to other agenda items and reports. Brief committee reports.
May I add to that?
Add to what?
The ordinance.
We've passed it.
This doesn't have anything to do with the ordinance, but it does with Parks and Rec.
Would you, we need a motion to amend our agenda, which takes two-thirds vote. Unless it could be considered in Public Works Committee, which supervises our Department of Parks.
Sure, we can do that if you need that. I'll ask you what you wanted to do and for that, or what is it?
I was just going to have everybody vote for Drakes Creek Park. That's all.
Let's ask our COO to handle that when he gets to his report, and we will acknowledge that Alderman Peterson asked us to do that.
Yes, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, okay. Thank you. Finance Committee, Chairman Dixon.
Thank you, Mayor. The Finance Committee did not meet tonight.
Chairman Dixon, thank you. Chairman Skidmore, Public Works.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just real briefly, we had three dedications of completed streets in Durham Farms that will be coming to the board in a couple of weeks. And then also we had one of the most critical that was passed unanimously to come to the Board of Aldermen, but it's going to go to Public Safety, and I guess when they do meet. It's about the speed limit signs. So Alderman Roberson has been working really hard on that. I'm real proud of the effort that you've done that, sir. I appreciate that. And we have, so it's referred, it has been passed to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, but it's going to do a little, take a ride at Public Safety and hopefully pass go and collect $200 and come to the board. So we had a trash collection update. So far, it's been good in the city. So, let's just keep our fingers crossed and see. I know it's almost into the fall, or it's getting close. So we basically had a pretty successful summer. It's some of our hardest with the heat and everything. It usually is one of our hardest times, but onward to the fall and see where it takes us with that. Our light synchronization program is right on time. We're on budget. And so I don't want to even talk about it because I'm afraid that I will jinx it. But we're doing really good with the synchronization program. I couldn't ask for anything better. It's still going on. And we're continuing on and being successful with that. Other than that, Mayor, that's all tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Skidmore. Chairman Robertson, the Capital Projects Committee.
Thank you, Mayor. The Capital Projects Committee met on September the 18th to discuss the city's first ever transportation improvement plan. It's been said that those that fail to plan to fail. This city is moving forward with its first ever transportation improvement plan. The objective of the plan is to improve traffic flow, reduce congestion, and improve safety in the city. A total of 35 improvement projects have been identified by staff and ranked in importance. The staff generated the plan, and now it goes to a third party for review. The final proposed plan will be published on around November the 18th. And then a public hearing will be held on around January the 13th to receive public comments about the plan. And based on the comments, it's estimated that BOMA will consider adopting a final transportation improvement plan on January the 28th. I want to thank the staff for its foresight, for its hard work on this much-needed improvement plan, and more to come later. Thank you, Mayor.
Chairman Robertson, thank you. Next, we have our BOMA report from our COO, Jesse.
Thank you, Mayor. I do want to point out in the BOMA report on page 79, it has a list of all the park's upcoming events, and a third of them are this weekend. So Mr. Gilly said we'll have 1 to 2 million people in Drakes Creek Park this weekend, as an exaggeration, but it's going to be a very busy weekend for our park. So I just want to bring your attention to that. The other thing is we did have someone talk about our trips to the county commission. We have now been 4 times. The item for the Drakes Creek Roundabout was not even put on the agenda to be considered at the last meeting. So some of the questions about can ARPA funds be used, do we have contingency plans, those things I'll brief you guys on, but as of now, there's just been no traction with the county. So that concludes my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Alderman Peterson, do you have a question for Mr. Eckerman?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Jesse, you mentioned the Drakes Creek Park. The Tennessean has nominated Drakes Creek Park for Best Park in Middle Tennessee. So I encourage everyone to please go to the Hendersonville Parks and Recs Facebook page and please vote for Drakes Creek Park. It is the heart of our city. And I can't think of a better park to nominate for Best Park in Middle Tennessee. So please do that. Thank you, Mayor.
Alderman Peterson and Jesse, thank you. Next, we have an executive session. I don't think this is going to last more than 3 to 4 minutes, to be honest with you. But we do need to go over. Lance does need to update you all on a couple things. So we will be back in just a minute. I'm going to entertain a motion to adjourn. We have a motion from Alderman Waters, a second from Alderman Garden. All in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Thank you all. Have a good night.